What's up, guys? This is Characters, and welcome back to the Carrot Poker Podcast, episode number 9, I think, or something like that. I've got my good friend and student Omar with me in the studio today. I want to say hello.
Hello, Grinders. Hey, Pete. What's going on?
Yeah, not a lot, man. Do you like my theme tune?
I was trying to place where the music was come from. What is that?
It's actually a weird, obscure Scottish band called Big Hand. They're like a ska outfit, but they're pretty good. Pretty cool. Not many people know about them, but they're like one of these kind of hidden gems, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. Takes me back to my youth with Real Big Fish back in the day.
Oh, Real Big Fish. Yeah, they're kind of similar. Yeah, totally, man. Nice. So we're going to flip the spotlight onto the coach today. Instead of me being like, Omar, what do we do in this spot? Answer these tough math questions. I'm going to be basically giving you free reign to interview me about whatever you want, basically, because maybe you guys want to actually know a bit about me instead of me just drilling on my students all the time. So, yeah, feel free. Go. Shoot me some questions. Let's do this.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, I just suggested this because I think I'm pretty boring and you're way more interesting, Pete. Not really.
Oh, come on. You're not going to get free lessons like that. It's worth a try. But.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be a bit interesting, kind of, when you kind of do sessions with students, they're kind of keen, like I am, just to kind of get as much technical knowledge from you as possible. Mm-hmm. And I kind of had some questions for you that kind of I really kind of haven't been able to ask, but maybe a lot of students could find useful as well.
Yeah.
Just a bit more kind of general.
Yeah, definitely.
So I wanted to ask you, kind of, as somebody myself who wants to kind of get better and better at poker, I'm really interested to, why did you get into poker in the first place?
I guess I want to say it's in my blood, because logic is in my blood. I love anything that's a logical puzzle. My dad taught me to play chess when I was 3 years old, so I was this little 3-year-old. I was taught all about the chess grandmasters, and he used to sing songs that he made up about chess grandmasters when I was going to bed instead of normal lullabies. So it's no wonder I turned into a big obsessive poker freak, right? So then I was just so into, as soon as I met chess, was introduced to it, I was just so fascinated by the game and just the way all the pieces moved and all the different combinations. And then we'd go and visit my grandparents and stuff like that, and the whole family, extended family, just loves games. We played board games, party games, stuff like that all through my childhood. So gaming has definitely been in my blood, and I've always had a natural knack for card games. Something about card games and just placing where cards are and working out what happens if people have these cards or if they don't. That was always my love when I was a kid, just playing cards. So when I realized that there was a way that you could play cards and also make money from it by being better at cards than anyone else, I was this is my calling in life. And I started playing poker just with friends, home games, and realized that I was a bit better at the game than them, and kind of, thought, well, if I can beat these guys, maybe I can make some real money, and then just got into online poker. That way, when I finally moved into my own, flat and stuff and had an internet connection, I just got obsessive about it and just loved poker, lived it, ate it, slept it, breathed it, and that's how I first got into it. But I didn't really get serious about the game and didn't accept how bad I was and actually start really learning to be a very good or decent player. I don't want to say good, and I didn't learn to be a competent player until probably many years after I first got into it. Yeah.
Interesting. And it sounds like how you got into it, kind of being brought up and playing games all the time. I suppose it develops your mind in a certain way towards poker and games logical-based games like chess. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think fundamentally it takes a certain type of person and a certain type of mind to be good at poker?
Yeah, definitely. This is something people don't want me to say, because a lot of people might not be they don't have that kind of background, and they're not normally into logic, but they just get into playing cards because they go to a poker tournament one night with their mates, and they want me to say it's for anyone can be really good at poker. I don't actually think that's true. I think that if you're naturally a very illogical person, or you're just someone that struggles with problem solving and your brain doesn't work in the way that you deduct things, then I'm sorry, but poker is probably not for you. You might enjoy it, have fun with it, sure, but you're probably not going to get to a really competent level where you start beating online games today badly enough to beat the rake and actually move through to meaningful stakes. It just won't happen unless you have a natural inclination, some natural inclination for logic. I'm not saying you need to be the obsessive, the chess grandmaster who is just naturally amazing. It's not quite like that, but you definitely need to have problem solving skills, your brain needs to work in a problem-solving way, at least to some extent, naturally. And I guess there are other things. So those are the absolute things. Like if you're not logical, you're not good at solving problems. Like you basically probably don't have a chance at getting really good, because I think those are quite innate skills, like people's minds who do and don't work in that way. But then there are things that will put you at a disadvantage if you're bad at them, but you can overcome them. So there are hurdles. If you're not logical, you can't really overcome that naturally if that's just not the way your brain works. But there are things that, say you're really bad at controlling your emotions, then you're not suited to poker, but that's something you can definitely get help with and you can definitely improve with. Say you tend to be very bad, you're lazy, and you tend to not be very good at motivating yourself to put in the hours to study. That again is something that means initially you're going to struggle, but that's something you can overcome. So the only way in which only certain type of people can succeed at this game, I would say, is if it's something like your mind is just not wired to think logically, and it doesn't matter how much like I tried to teach an ex-girlfriend once, just to give you an example. Girl I'm with now, her mind is very logical in a gaming sort of way, and she's taken to poker like a duck out of water. The one before used to like run through to the bedroom crying because I was trying to teach her something she just couldn't understand, because she was like an artist and her mind just didn't work in that way. So it's a good example that it's not for everybody, but if you naturally love games, if you're naturally just into gaming and you love problem solving and logic, and I would say to some extent if you're the kid that prefers math to English in school, that's probably means that you're more on the sort of poker spectrum. But that's the only way that it would hold you back if you're logical. Anything else can be overcome. Any other, bad traits for poker can be overcome.
I'm just amazed that you managed to get 2 girlfriends to play poker at all.
No, I only got one. I only got one to play, but that's fine because that's the one I'm actually with now, so I guess that's what matters, right?
Yeah, I guess so. So, I mean, honestly, how good at maths do you have to be? I mean, I've seen poker books where they've got, like, calculus in there and all kinds of stuff that scares the shit out of me, quite frankly. I mean, I try to be very good at maths, but how good do you have to be really at maths?
You don't have to be good at maths at all. You need to be able, your brain needs to be the kind of brain that can handle, like, basic math and logic. If your brain can't handle, like, multiplying 6 by 7, the chances are that you don't have the right kind of mind for poker, like I was saying. But, like, you don't have to be a math genius. You don't even have to be... Like, I got a C in math at high school. Like, I'm not that naturally amazing at math. I'm more, like, into logic than math. Like, logic and philosophy is, like, my field, so sort of problem solving in a more logical way, using kind of, like, semantic expression with words is more what I'm about than actually, like, puzzling through a bunch of numerical problems. That said, there are certain things that you need to be able to do to play poker well, mathematical things. Like, you need to be comfortable dividing the amount you have to call when someone bets at you on the river into that amount plus the pot, like bet divided by bet plus pot, as we'd call it, to work out how much equity you require and things like that. There are very fundamental basic things that you need to know mathematically in order to be good at poker. But there's a very low ceiling. As long as you've got the basic competency and you've learned how to do 3 or 4 basic poker math things, you really don't need to be that much of a natural math genius at all. I think it's a myth and a misconception when people say, oh, you're a poker player, so you must be like amazing at math and stuff. Like, no, I just have enough competency in math to handle the core mathematical fundamentals of the game. There's a lot more to poker than math. Logic is about 50 billion times more important than math. Even though the two are related, logic, problem-solving skills, it doesn't even compare. Those are what you need, not math genius.
Good. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Relieved now.
I mean, it brings me on to my next question, and this is something I'm really keen to know the answer. And you were talking about how you got into the game, and it's very similar to myself, and I bet a lot of people out there who just kind of were playing home games with mates or whatever, saw it on TV and just, having a lot of fun. So you kind of, we come to this game in a sort of, random way, if you like, and we don't really know kind of what we're doing. But then kind of eventually we take it a bit more seriously with the books, etc. And then kind of we learn from there. But the problem with that, I guess, is you've just maybe picked up all these bad habits that you've got to weed out. What I want to know is, let's say you've got someone who's a complete beginner and they know literally nothing about poker. They never even played cards, right? what would you do with that person to kind of construct like a poker genius? You know, let's say that they have a logical mind, they just never got into it. What are they like the first three things they need to do, for example?
Well, this actually happened to me in real life, right? I'll tell you a story. I was at the casino one night, or one afternoon or something. It's just like, it was when I was like kind of fascinated by card counting and blackjack. And my local casino used to spread this like 6-deck game, which basically, cut a long story short, it means that card counting is like kind of feasible. So I was like, oh, I want to learn how to do that just for fun. So I'd go in with a little roll and I'd play some low stakes blackjack and just like practice card counting. When I had a bit of free time, I was passing by or whatever. And just basically me trying to be like, I'm not a gambling addict, honestly. Like, I go to the casino in the afternoon, I'm not. And I met this guy who was like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a poker coach. And he was like, oh, I've never played poker, but I've always wanted to get into poker. And I was like, all right, well, here are my details, here's my card, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I'll come over and get some lessons. And I was like, sweet. And he actually did for about 4 or 5 weeks, came every week. And we sat at my poker table and I put all these teddies out to represent the players and gave them chips and gave them all personalities and things like that. It was kind of ridiculous. He's like a grown man and I'm like laying all these teddies around and he's paying me for it. Kind of weird. But anyway, he's a really nice guy actually. And he was a complete beginner and I had to teach him. And what I basically did was I first went over the hand rankings. You can't play poker if you don't know the hand rankings. So obviously you have to start right at the beginning, do that, lay it all out. Then I get the deck and I'll deal out some hole cards and I'll deal out a flop and I'll say, what is your hand? And we'll build it up from there to the point that he's then in the river. What is the best possible hand? What is his hand? How good is his hand relatively? That kind of thing. Just get a basic idea of relative hand strength and no limit hold'em. Then from there, I mean, you probably want to start introducing, that was kind of as far as we got because he stopped getting putts for whatever reason. He probably decided that it wasn't worth his money to sit with me 20 years younger than him with all these teddies every week. I don't know. But he was making progress, but whatever. Anyway, like what I would do after that, you then need to get into the betting and you need to actually talk about the flow of the game and how you bet and what pot odds are. You need to go over the basic mathematical principles of equity, pot odds, and EV and explain what those mean. I want to do that right from the beginning. It's like my book that I've started writing just now. The first chapter is all about EV, just understanding why we make decisions in poker. We do it because we think it's the most plus EV thing, and what that actually means in logical terms we can understand. So I think you're at a huge advantage when you work with a student like that because they don't have all those bad habits and things like you say. They're like a clean slate for you to get to work on and start carving in the correct thought process. So that's what I'm doing, getting them familiar with the fundamentals of the game, the math, the basic math that they need, understanding of pot odds, implied odds, fold equity, starting hand, ranges, and teaching them why they open certain hands from certain spots. And it's great because they will have an understanding of the game where they understand exactly why they're doing everything that they're doing from the beginning, and they won't just have these things that they do and they don't know why because they're just copying what some bad player told them once or what they saw on TV. Well, they saw some celebrity poker player do. So that's what I would do to begin with. And then when you've instilled those main principles, I think from there, you need to start looking at the most common situations and perfecting their play in those before you get into the rarer ones. So you start on the earlier streets, you talk about how important it is to steal blinds. It's very important that you feed your poker, your red line, your non-showdown winning line, that you feed the amount of money you win just by people folding, by stealing enough in position, and how crucial that is to steal a lot in the cutoff and the button, to some extent in small blind. Then you want to teach them how to c-bet properly, the c-bet spot where you've opened and you get called and you have this decision, do I c-bet, do I not? That comes up way more than any other spot in poker post-flop, so you need to solve that next. And you need to build up their understanding using building blocks, starting with the most frequent and core principles, and then branching off and using the things that you've already taught them in the earlier principles to help teach the later principles. So it's very much like a foundational pyramid, if you know what I mean. And that's the way my book is. You start off by introducing these core notions. Then if you jump to chapter 4 without reading 2 and 3, you'd be lost because I'm building it up foundationally. That's how I try and work with every student, but I then have the added job of fixing all the bad habits they've developed, which makes it more difficult. If you give me a clean slate student like that, I will take that any day over someone who's been playing 6 years not seriously and thinks they're a pro. I'll take the clean slate, please. I'll have him.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. Good luck to you with writing your book, by the way.
Cheers.
I imagine it's quite a tough process, but it's going to be well worth it when it comes out. Really looking forward to it. I mean, it makes me think about books. I mean, how has poker changed compared to 5 years ago in terms of, when I started out, taking poker seriously a couple of years ago, I kind of found some books that I got off the internet, and they seem, I looked at some of them recently, and they just seem like really out of date. Do you think that a lot of the literature out there is out of date? Do you think that the game has changed enough in the past 5 years where there needs to be a lot more stuff coming through that new players need to look at?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just crazy how obsolete a lot of this stuff is. I've got in my hand right now a book called Championship, No Limit and Pot Limit Hold'em by TJ Cloutier and Tom McAvoy. And I remember getting this book in 2002 and reading it and being like, oh my god, they're so wise, they know everything about poker. See, if I read this book today, I just start laughing instantly. No offense to them, because I'm sure for the day they were great poker players and stuff. I don't want to sound like an arrogant little kid. I probably do. But if you look at the best poker instruction online on the internet right now, on the leading training sites, the best instructors on the leading training sites, it's just a bazillion miles better than most things that have been released in poker books. There are a few exceptions. There are some good poker books out there. I'm trying to write a book because I want to bring everything I've taught. I've made 185 training videos for a training site, and I think that I've been coaching for 5 years and coached hundreds of people, and I think that I've reached the point now where I've got enough knowledge about this really fiendishly difficult game to actually construct something that's modern, something that's comprehensive, and something that actually covers everything that people need to know to start succeeding in online poker. So I think there is a gap there. That's why I'm trying to fill it, I guess. There are some good books, but not enough. If you took any other subject, the literature in the books would be way more up to date than the literature in poker. And I think that's because poker is an online poker is an online thing, and instruction takes place more in the form of forums, training sites, videos, modern means basically, than it does in books. But I think there's definitely a need for some good up-to-date poker books to be written. So I guess that's what I'm trying to
do. Interesting. And I guess kind of my final question is you've talked a lot about kind of your coaching and how long you've been playing. After 10 years of kind of buying books and taking the game seriously, what motivates you to keep playing now? And for example, what are your goals for next year? Apart from obviously the book, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, honestly, right now my goals are any poker goal about making loads of money by grinding out loads of hours of poker is on hold, because right now I'm just completely consumed by my students and running the student group and doing sessions with them and writing my book. Those two things are taking up the majority of my time. I'm still grinding and I am still motivated to play. I guess if you're asking what keeps me motivated, it's just that innate love for the game I described to you at the start. This is, I think, where I'm supposed to be in life. I feel like I'm quite lucky, because I think for a lot of people they're doing something that it might pay well and they don't mind it, but oftentimes I feel like people's careers don't truly resonate with who they are, and I feel like I'm really, really lucky in that I've found something that was what I always wanted to do as a kid, and I'm doing it now. And a poker coach is not the most amazingly paid profession in the world. You do have to promote a lot, you have to work for it. It's not something that is going to make you really, really rich really quickly, although I'm working on building up the kind of poker empire, if you like. But at least, I think what motivates me to keep doing it is just that it's the way my brain is naturally wired, and I've managed to find the thing to do in life, or one of the things that I could do in life that corresponds with who I am naturally as a person. I think that's super important. It's just harmonious in that way. But don't get me wrong, there are still times when I can't be bothered playing poker. If you're running bad, you don't want to play, you get don't want to play tilt, if you like. That's very normal, I get that. I think everyone gets that to some extent. And in those situations, you just have to take a break and do something else, and then come back and realize why you love poker. Maybe try a new format just for fun, or join a new poker training site, listen to someone else's perspective, do something refreshing. But let's face it, we're all in this game because we love it. Otherwise, we wouldn't put ourselves through the torment of trying to be successful poker players, right? Because it's hellishly difficult, and we do it because we love the game. So that must be it. And it must just be the innate love that keeps us playing and keeps us coaching and writing poker books or whatever it is we want to do in the poker world, I guess.
Awesome, sounds really good. That's it for me. That's been really interesting. Thanks, Pete.
Cool, man. No worries. It was a pleasure to. I really like the way you kind of like linked those questions. By the way, like everyone seemed to flow on to the next. So I think I'll make you like when the book comes out and I become like a rich baller, I'll just make you my professional interviewer guy. That will work, right? That'll be good. I'm kidding. But listen, Omar, thank you so much.
Carrot-shaped building will be sitting there, yeah.
Carrot-shaped building, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much, man, for coming on the show again for the second time, and we'll definitely have you back on in the near future for some more content. So yeah, until then, I guess it's goodbye from me and Omar, and good luck at the tables to all you guys. Keep the comments, emails coming. You can get me there at admin@carrotcorner.com. If you're interested about being coached yourself, then please feel free to check out carrotcorner.com, my coaching page, where I've got a bunch of information on there, basically. Right, Omar, thanks very much again, and see you guys on the next one. Bye for now, guys.